my eyes dare to see all the greatness I possess, endless possibilities.
Welcome to another segment of the Seek Elevation Experience with yours truly, Attorney Keisha. I am an attorney, but I may not be yours, so I'm not giving you legal advice. If you ever do hear me discuss legal gems, which I do pretty often, I'm just giving you gems so that you can shine and wear those diamonds and dig deeper with the information that I give you. But here, on the Seek Elevation Experience, this is where real issues, real people, and real conversations take center stage. Because we all know that change doesn't happen in silence. So we are not quiet here. I have the goal of shaking things up and, just using all of our minds, all of our information, all of our experiences to create something new. So whether it's from sports to entertainment to business and community, we elevate voices right here that needs to be heard. But we don't just talk. I know it's a podcast and that's what people do sometime on shows is just talk. We don't just talk here. We are actually empowering, inspiring, and we're challenging the status quo. And sometimes I do that by delivering to you one-on-one. I'm just speaking to you. And then oftentimes I do that by identifying amazing individuals that I know can level you up in your mind and also for us all to connect. So whoever I bring to the stage, it's not just to bring to the stage ever. It's to learn, it's to collaborate, it's to engage, but it's also to connect because I want us to build a community. It is in community of like-minded individuals where we see miraculous things happen. So that's the Seek Elevation experience. That's going to be the effect of Seek Elevation. That is the effect, I should say. But today, what are we talking about? The art of letting go, releasing the overwhelm. What I want us to get clarity on today is, let's talk about getting our stuff together. Whatever that may mean for you. If you just feel like you're in overwhelm, chaos, we're going to talk about why that probably is the case. Especially if you're a small business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, yes, but also if you are an entertainer, if you are an athlete, you are an entrepreneur. You're running a business. So all of this is together. And that overwhelm, it can be reduced or eliminated. So that's what we're talking about today. The person that I brought on, the amazing woman that I brought on, is someone who has helped many others for over 2 decades. And she is currently killing it with her expanded vision. I'll let her talk more about that. But let's go ahead. Let's just dive into the overview of today because I want us to be real, right? We're going to be real. We're always real here. We said real people, real issues, real conversations. So we're going to keep it real. We use this word success, and success is not about doing everything yourself. One of the things that, hurts my heart a lot is you hear individuals talk about entrepreneurships. That's pushed a lot. And I get it. You want to own your own, and there's different levels of entrepreneurship. I get it. But what is rarely talked about is what that entails. We jump in and we take, whatever is given to us by other entrepreneurs, not to call names that it's wrong, but like the Gary V's, all the people that's exciting, right? They get us pumped. But as you listen to all of those individuals who may pump you up in entrepreneurship, please remember that there's levels to that so that we're not experiencing burnout and overwhelm. Success, that's why we do it. It's not about doing it ourselves. So if we're building a business, if we're leading a vision, if we're trying to just scale in our impact, the real breakthrough comes from when you learn to let go. And in this segment, we're going to talk about how to do that. We'll talk about some strategic support, because support isn't a luxury. It's a launch pad. And when we stop clinging to control, and listen, I'm telling you, I already know. I'm someone that's speaking to you who understands. There's a lot of things we just want to control because we feel like if we don't, it will not get done the way we want it to get done. But we have to start using the right systems, the right people, and that's when we'll see elevation truly begins. I had to do that. I don't just speak things and preach things. I live things. And I'm telling you, I understand that thing about control and getting it the way we want it. When I started letting go of the things that did not allow me to show up as my best in the other areas that I needed to show up, it was overwhelmed. When I started letting it go, it was the elevation. It started running so smoothly. So our guest knows firsthand by helping others rise to the next level through clarity, structure, and smart support, but also as an entrepreneur, of course, herself. And let me just go ahead and give the introduction so I can bring her on stage. We have Miss Kimberly Fennell. And Miss Kimberly is a visionary force behind the scenes. Like I just said, when we start seeing people that have things run well, and we're just looking at them and we're like, you're killing it. You are smashing it. A lot of times, those people have forces behind them to allow that to be the case. And Kimberly is one of those visionary forces behind the scenes. And through her company, Entertainment Business Support, EBS Administrative Services, which is a certified minority woman-owned firm. It is a certified, which means you have to go through all these checks and balances to even be certified. So it is a legit on her stuff company. And what Kimberly does in her company, in her firm, is she focuses on redefining what it means to provide administrative support, what it means. So this is where she focuses on delivering strategy that meets services and support that becomes transformation. And like I said earlier, she's been doing this for over 20 years. She has empowered entrepreneurs, creatives, small business owners, and organizations, and helped all of those entities, all of those moving parts, move from overwhelm to operational success. And her portfolio spans industries, including digital marketing, accounting, nonprofit, and independent consulting, with an expertise in project management and organizational strategy. That is important to know. Listen, you have a lot of people out there, right? Especially say they're coaching, they do this for your business, they do that for your business, and they just jump on it because they figure this is something possibly I can do. But when you have that acumen behind you, you have the expertise behind you, project management and organizational strategy, those are key components in implementing processes to help you alleviate overwhelm. So she's doing the work. And let me just say, too, she's a proud graduate, baby, of Clark Atlanta University. We know about the CAU. CAU is serious and sharp, those females that come from there. And she's trained through several entrepreneurship programs. But although I mentioned all of this, education, all of this training she gets there, please let us not get twisted. Kim fuses her formal education with real world experiences. She is a proud mompreneur. So she understands even being a parent and that entrepreneur. She is a creative at heart. So those who she serves, there's not just sympathy there, there's empathy. And she's a passionate advocate for those ready to grow personally and professionally. And I'm going to let her talk more about this. But back in 2013, she expanded her mission with Biz Savvy Artists, which is a platform that is dedicated to equipping and empowering creatives to build sustainable businesses. I'm a slow down and say this again. This is why I said, listen, as a creative, you could put yourself, whatever you do, in that box. As a creative, you are a business. You are the CEO. And we have now shifted, which I'm extremely happy about, that people are saying that we have to walk and handle ourselves as such. And she helps you to build sustainable businesses through her coaching, her workshops, her mentorships, and conferences through the Biz Savvy Artists. And I had the pleasure a few years back to grace one of her stages and speak on intellectual property. So she identifies people to come in and pour into these creatives and not just pour into them the important aspects of creating a sustainable business. And I have the pleasure to join the one she has this year, talking about AI and all the great things. So she has a passion, right? I mean, she helps creatives turn their passion into profit with confidence and clarity. She's been featured in magazines, on the Soul Sweet Radio, Pop Life Radio, but I'm happy right now she is on the Seek ELLAvation experience to share with you. And lastly, she not just only provides these services, have great education, have great experiences, showed up in media. She also serves. She gives of herself, and she serves on boards. And she also helped produce the Juneteenth New York City's virtual summit. So she pours back in the community so many different ways. This is why I say I identify real deal. So with no further ado, I'm going to bring Kimberly to the stage. Hello, how are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Listen, my pleasure. Like I said in the introduction, there's no doubt, no question. When I go down the list of the amazing people I'm connected with, I have a vision and I have an idea of how to help build this community and move us forward. And there are lights that just illuminate in my vision. And you're one of the lights, especially in what you do and in this particular area. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. All right. So, how's your day been going so far before we get into it? How's everything today?
Everything is good. Today was busy as usual. We're getting ready for Biz Savvy Artist Academy in about a month. So a lot is happening behind the scenes, but I can't complain at all. This is what I signed up for.
That's right. And we'll get more into the Biz Savvy Artist event because it's not an event. It's a mission. So we'll get into that more because it's important for those to hear it. And I know it's a lot for creatives, but it benefits everyone who touches on business in some aspect, some shape, form, or fashion.
Absolutely.
So let's just talk a little bit about your journey. Those that I bring on, what I like is just kind of getting to know them, individuals that connect with them, especially when they can identify something that you can do to help level them up. I like them to get to kind of know the person and how did you even get there? Because one thing that we're all doing in life, period, is walking our journey. And some of us are still figuring some things out. So it's more than just talking about the end game, but let's talk a little bit about Kim and and walk us up to where we're going to be at today. So, and what you do, thinking about what you do, what part of your journey, your own journey and your walk inspired you to take this type of assistance or service along?
I honestly, I think I kind of fell into it a little bit. I think I've always been one of those people who's been very active in a lot of different organizations and activities since I was growing up as a child. I was in a lot of different extracurricular activities and had to juggle a lot of things. And so I kind of became known for being really organized. That followed me into college. So I was always the one when you're in the group projects, I was the one that was kind of always taking the lead to like organize things and coordinate meetings. And I was the one that was always assigned to, okay, she's going to do all the typing of it and make sure it gets submitted on time and those types of things. And so I always had a love and a passion for the arts. I've been involved in the arts. I grew up just outside of New York City, so we would go into the city a lot, go to plays and concerts and music festivals and all different types of events. And so I fell in love with it and saw an opportunity to marry the two. I started to notice shortly after graduating from college that there were a lot of artists that I was coming across that were extremely talented, but struggled on the business and operational side. And I wanted to be able to offer that support once I realized that there were entertainment companies that were big organizations and they have admin staff. So why wouldn't independent artists have like admin and operational staff as well? And so I just saw a niche and pursued that as an opportunity to do something I love and use a skill that I had developed over the years.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. That's definitely a good point that everyone, especially that we deal with, we work directly with, they have all those things in place. We too should have those things in place. But before I get there, I want to go back a little bit because you said, I mean, you kind of fell into it. You was just that one in the group. And I know those ones in the group, but how did you ever feel when you was in that group and people realized your gift? Did you ever feel like, man, I'm the one they always come to that's going to do not the brunt of the work, but pull everything together? Do you feel like people started to just completely depend on you, or how did you feel becoming known as that person?
Um, I don't know if I realized it right away. It was just something I kind of did and didn't think about it. Um, I know, particularly growing up, my mother's a very type A personality. And so she always had high expectations of this is how you do this. When somebody is calling the house, I couldn't just tell her, oh, so and so called. I had to say, this person called at this time. This is what they wanted. And it had to be like written down in a certain way. So I just kind of developed these habits and I didn't even really think about it. And I remember being in church one Sunday and they would say, I think it was my pastor would say, your gift is that thing that you don't really think about, that you kind of shrug off, but that other people always acknowledge about you. And I think that was when I kind of had that aha of like, oh, okay, this is not something that's just like normal for everybody. Because that was always the thing that people would always point out about me is that I was so organized and I always seemed like I had everything together. And so it was just kind of something I just did and didn't even really think about until that moment.
And that's what I was getting to. I was getting to what the pastor said. And that's why I love, I love this part of conversation. It really gets me. It's my thing. Just being inquisitive because I always keep hearing a common theme. It hasn't failed yet. Like you just said, your pastor says that thing you don't even notice, but also that thing that you have been developing in or being created in, and you don't even know you're being created in. Like you even mentioned when you was a kid, your mom didn't let you answer. It's that thing we always say, what am I supposed to do in life? What is this? It's all the things around us that is complementing gifts that already are put in us to give back to others. Things that we dismiss as compliments to it, but we may see it something different. I hate this story. I hate this family member. I hate that. But that very thing that you think you hate,
Right.
that's your glory. because your story is wrapped into it. So that's what I wanted to hear. That's why that's the essence and fabric of Kim. It started from younger, needing to be on your P's and Q's, dotting your I's, crossing your T's, to just showing up that way with other groups around you. All right. So in your journey and seeing that, were there, now let's move forward, because like you said, you grew up in New York. Of course, you see all the entertainment, all the things. You started identifying, with these creatives, what they actually needed. What was your next thought from there? Like, would you start saying, okay, I see there's a need here? Where did that bring you?
So I don't know if it was an immediate thing. I graduated college early 2000s, right before 9/11 happened. And I was having a hard time finding a job. I kept, going on interviews. They kept saying, we like you, but, and so one day in particular, I was just sitting in my apartment. I had one of those, and they had those subscriptions where you could get like 3 magazines for $1 kind of situation. So I'd subscribed to Black Enterprise and I'd subscribed to Entrepreneur. And so I was sitting in my apartment reading Entrepreneur magazine. And in the back, they have all of these how-to guides, how to start all of these different types of businesses. And one of them was a business support company. And so as I was reading the description of it, I realized that was a lot of the tasks that I was doing in the last job that I'd had. And so I was like, well, why don't I do that, but focus it on the entertainment industry? And so I started doing research. I went to the library and found a similar book in the library, borrowed that and pulled all of the information I could out of it. I sent an email to a bunch of the contacts that I had made in my previous job. At the time, prior to that, I had worked at a record pool that distributed vinyl records to DJs. And then collected feedback from them for the record labels. And then he also produced an annual music conference. And then on the days that I wasn't with him, I was working at an independent record store. And then the owner of the record store also did radio promotions. And so I kind of was coming into contact with a lot of different artists and label execs and things like that. And so I just kind of compiled a list of people that I had met, reached out and kind of said, hey, I'm doing this new business. These are some of the services that I'm planning to offer. If you need anything, let me know. And it just kind of went from there. I had one particular person reply that was a publicist. She had me help her organize a bunch of her contacts, put it in an Access database at the time. And then I took it a step further and took all the business cards and flyers she gave me, and I got a binder and I bought the little business card pages and organized all of the business cards and flyers in there, gave it back to her. And then that turned into her introducing me to other organizations where I started meeting more people, and it just kind of took off from there.
Listen, I was writing some stuff down as you was talking, right? Because again, it's beautiful. And those who listen, you already know where I'm going, right? We're all hearing the same thing. And not just hearing the same thing when you look at your own life, when I'm looking at my own life. I love that you said, one, you talked about the steps you took, right? The work you did. You read, you took something. And it's not coincidence. It's connecting the dots. It's not coincidence. You get this magazine, you read something, and the something that you end up reading is something that absolutely resonates with what your life is. And that thing now sparks another idea, right? So ideal containers is what we live in this life period. Everything we see started with an ideal. So ideal containers, and it sparked that for you. So you did the work by taking action, not just sitting, waiting for some miraculous thing to drop in your mind. You utilize contacts. You knew where you were at. You're working for other people, but you utilize those contacts that you made through working for other people. And then most importantly, you invested in yourself. That part that we got to understand, you invested in stuff. You went got the cards, you got the things that you needed to get in order to continue to elevate. So I wanted to parse that out real quickly that you just summed up in there. Question: as you work for these record labels and other things, because we're talking about the entertainment industry, how did you, or should I say, are there any challenges that you've seen, even in those areas where whoever you work for? Did you see certain challenges that you said, wow, this definitely needs more organization, or this is what pushed me more or shaped you more and how you want to move forward in supporting your clients through possibly their own struggles?
I think, particularly with the record pool, he had a pretty good structure going on. And
Okay.
so that taught me the need for it, even in the
Ah,
entertainment industry. And I think a lot of times people kind of think, oh, entertainment, you just kind of do whatever. But the the companies that are doing well and thriving and,
yes.
doing things, there's a structure behind what they're doing. They're not just kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. There's like, he had scripts for when I had to make phone calls to record labels. He had, itemized lists of when you walk in the door, you do this, you sit this down, you put this here, this goes that way. When it came to like distributing the records, he had a system and a process for that. And I think that just reinforced the need for it. So when I left and I'm going to other places and I'm seeing they didn't have that, and I would be asking questions, okay, what's the process for this? And they're just kind of like, oh, just kind of do it. And that kind of made it the light click for me that, okay, they like other areas need processes too. Other organizations need processes too.
So it's the opposite for you. That's beautiful to hear. That means, one, it's great to hear that you worked for an entertainment company that had their stuff together. Because a lot of times it can be very chaotic. I've worked on opposite sides of entertainment companies, be it record labels or different things, and it is just chaos. To your point, though, is because there weren't systems in place, or there's certain, people in place that's just used to moving how they want to move, irregardless of a system. It's, I've been in here for 30, 20, whatever years, I'm just going to move the way I want to move. So it's good that to hear you didn't actually learn from specific challenges. You learned from getting a chance to have access to seeing it work. And you saying, I want to take these things that I've seen, that I, learn, and apply them to others' success that you're going to help achieve. So is that correct?
Yes,
All
that's
right. So now walk us to the next step. You see that, you get that, you say, okay, these are different things that's actually needed. Where are we at now?
so at that point, I started targeting working with trade organizations. So I joined the National Black Programmers Coalition. It's, I think, the National Broadcasting Professionals Coalition now. I worked with NABFEM, the National Association for Black Female Executives in Music and Entertainment. I joined the Atlanta Black Chambers, and I started positioning myself to meet other people who were in the entrepreneurial space or in the entertainment space that would need the services that I offered. And I just began working with them, volunteering, helping to put some of those structures in place. Like when I joined the Atlanta Black Chambers, it was literally just starting. And so there was a lot of space to kind of begin developing processes and procedures and create structures so that it could, grow, flourish. And so I was the point person at the meetings. I think we met monthly at Pascal's at the time. And so I was the one that was sitting at the registration table and checking people in and proofreading we would have a brochure at each meeting. So I was proofreading the brochures. And it's just, when you present a certain way, it gives another level of professionalism.
Yes.
And so I would aim to do that for the organizations and the people that I was meeting and starting to work with.
I love to hear that you said, again, the word positioning. I position myself. You're taking action. But what I really love to hear is when you said volunteering, because you have a lot of people that say, if I'm not getting any coins at all, I'm not thinking about doing anything where I get no coins. But sometimes the compensation, the pay, is the dividends within yourself that you're able to withdraw from later. And I try to tell that to so many people, so many different times. Listen, let's do chess here. Like, really understand the moves you're making. Can what this do for you that you cannot otherwise have done, get done now or within the near future without investing your time and get that dividend?
Exactly.
I
And I
mean,
think, oh, I'm
yeah, go
sorry.
ahead.
I was
No,
just going to say, and I think to my point, I tried to be strategic about it. Like, I wasn't just volunteering any and everywhere. I was being selective about where I was volunteering. And I was putting myself in a place where the people that I wanted to work with were getting an opportunity to see me do what I do. And so then they started coming to me and being like, hey, I see how you're running these meetings and how you're, managing the registration process. I need somebody that does that. And I started getting the clients from those volunteering opportunities. So I was always very strategic about how and where I was volunteering.
And I love that. Exactly. You have to be very strategic in it, but it was twofold for you. So the ROI was amazing. You weren't only just volunteering to continue to sharpen your skills, you also were volunteering to put yourself in front of those individuals that can now see how you show up. Because what do we all do? A lot of times, right? If we're going to buy a product or service, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be from someone that referred. We've seen tons of testimonials, seen somebody else with it. Something has to give us our comfort in order to do it. What best comfort do you get than someone being able to see you? I am so, I can see how you deliver what you do. So sometimes we have to just put ourselves in a room and showcase our gifts because we never know who is there. So that was twofold return on your investment. All right, so you go in, and I can speak to the Atlanta Black Chambers. I mean, because you were amazing. Like, even when we had meetings, a part of the group that we were together, yeah, we turn right to you. Get everything, make sure everything stay on par and keep us on track. And then after even all the information is disseminated, because you have so many amazing minds, you need to pull that stuff together. And you just had an amazing skill with that as well. All right, so you did that. You're volunteering. You're sharpening your skills. You're putting yourself in front of individuals. How does it continue to unfold from there? Where are you starting to get your, these experiences I have that I'm getting or had, it's not just for me, they're meant for others' success as well.
Absolutely. I think in being in those spaces, I started to see more and more people that needed what I was doing. So, for example, I was working at volunteering at the Southeast Urban Music Conference, for example, and I would interact with the artists that were there. They would ask me what I would do, what I did, and when I would tell them, they were kind of like, I don't get it. So I would say, the virtual assistant, we provide administrative support, we help you manage your business. And they were like, oh, so you're a booking agent? And I was like, no. Oh, so you're a manager? And I was like, no. Oh, so you're a publicist? And I was like, no. And then that helped me realize that they didn't really have the concept of business structure. And so I was kind of like, okay, they don't know, or they're not aware of, or they're not even considering the other aspects of the tasks and things that are involved in running and operating as a business. And so that kind of also helped me to be aware of, okay, I need to make this like an educational thing too, in terms of teaching them about business in addition to helping them with the services that I can offer, so they could see where I could be used in what they were doing and how I could support them.
Did that also help you with learning how to shape saying what you do? Because a lot of times some of us do struggle with, just because we know what we do. We know in our mind, we know in our head, but conveying that to other people in the most simplest form, most understandable form, digestible form, sometimes can be challenging because it may be several things, right? And so you don't want to give this whole long When they kept asking you, was it this? Nope. Was it that? Nope. Did that start helping you shape how to actually communicate what you do?
It did make me think about it more. It did make me more aware of, okay, you need to find a way to help them relate to what you do. And so what I started doing when I was going to conferences is I would offer to do what I did for the publicist, which was organize the contacts. I'm like, you're at this conference, you're meeting all of these people, you're collecting all of these business cards. What is going to happen with those business cards when you leave? Are they just going to sit on your desk and collect dust? I was like, I will organize the business cards for you. I will put them into an Excel spreadsheet or a database so you can import them into your email list, or you can reach out, do a mail merge. And then I was like, I can explain how to do that for you, but it would make it easier for you to follow up with all of the people that you're meeting here. And when I started to say it that way, that kind of gave them like aha, I didn't think about that. And then that would open up the door for me to share some of the other services that I was able to offer.
Okay, so it's not just figuring out how to communicate what you do to others. It was also more so creating gateways. How do I get them in, right? Focus on that thing. Stop trying to communicate the whole thing. That may be too much, but figure out a gateway. And as they come in on this gateway, other things can be, dripped from there. Other conversations can be dripped from there.
Absolutely. Exactly.
So what are, like you said, I want to go back to when you said a lot of times, especially when you was letting people know what you did, that it didn't click because they probably didn't realize they need it. So after getting in and they realize I do need it, and you start working with them, what are some of the common challenges that you've seen that these, creatives or growing businesses or whoever your clientele was at that time, what were some of the things that they were facing that they didn't realize I need this type of assistance behind me in order to, break through, get my breakthrough?
So I think one of the things that a lot of my clients were facing then and are still facing now is creating structure, processes, consistency. And so it was kind of like they would do things one way one day, and then the next day they'd be like, oh, I changed my mind. I think I'm going to do this. And then it makes it hard for somebody else to support you when things are constantly changing. So, for example, I would have a client who he would quote people, and because he didn't have a set price list, he would forget what he quoted them. And then when they came back, he would be like, oh, I don't remember what I said. And he was relying on them to tell him what he told them and then having to trust them.
So
And
that
it was like,
Go ahead.
yeah. So it would be things like that. It would be them missing appointments, missing deadlines for things, um, not submitting things that maybe the information on it was incorrect, or if there was typos or misspellings or just looked messy, those types of things. So I would, get involved in helping them to create documents and presentations that looked neat and professional, helping them keep track of their appointments and their calendar management, helping them again create those processes and structures so that there was a level of consistency. So it was going in and saying, okay, let's talk about what you're doing, how much you want to charge for these things, making sure that you're charging enough so that you're covering your costs and then still have some left over to pay yourself, those types of things, so that there's like some business structure to it so that you can grow and be successful.
So how does that carry over? So I can see that because what you just brought up, I'm like, yeah, like you need to know that at all things, you get your price. But the more I hear, the more I learn that I don't know. Because I hear new things and we can't think common sense is common, right? It's
Right.
some people just you learn new things. I would have never thought someone didn't think to document or at least have a consistency in their price, but obviously that happens. So that's the most basic. So how does something like that transfer over to creatives? Where does that consistency need to show up that will help them if they're a creative or I don't know, an athlete? Like how does that transfer over to them as far as systems?
I think creating a level of consistency helps you to be more efficient. So if, for example, if I am doing outreach for an artist and they are going to be performing somewhere and they want to let the community know this is where I'm going to be, and they're sending out emails to different people, if I have to sit down every time they get a new contact and want to reach out to them, and I have to recreate the same email over and over again, that's taking up extra time versus if I have a template email for they're performing in this market. We wanted to make you aware. Please share it with your constituents. We'd love to invite you out, whatever that language is. If I kind of have a template for that, and all I have to do is switch out the name, maybe switch out which market the performance is in, and, you know, kind of personalize a few things here and there, and then send it, that might shave time off that process. So if I'm emailing 50 people, instead of it taking me 3-4 hours, maybe I can get it down to 1. And then that allocates more time for you to do whatever it is that, you know, your core business is.
Right. And also be like consistency, I guess. How you do one thing is usually how you do everything. I believe the quote goes. But so like consistency, that would help you with just how you're showing up, period. Right. Because how we show up and whatever we're doing, whether it's just lifing, entertainer, athlete, how we show up is what's attracting the opportunities, because those opportunities are attracted to us how we're showing up. So that consistency, if there's consistency in how you're sending out emails, consistency in how you're sending any communications, also consistency how you're doing social media, all those different things would help, would you say?
Absolutely. I think it helps in that, in terms of shaving time. And to your point, when you're getting ready to release, it's easier for you to hand it over to someone else to do on your behalf when there's some structure and there's some processes in place versus everything being in your head and you just kind of doing things randomly. So if you can hand them a sheet of paper that's like, do this, here's a template for this, here's a script for this, they can kind of take it and run with it, and they don't have to stop every 5 minutes and ask you questions, and you have more freedom to focus on, you know, being creative.
Yeah. And consistency helps things to just run. I had read a post on IG, and I believe it was someone who obviously is well known. I think she has a clothing company, but she posted a post saying, shutting down the business. I have no shame in it. I'm going back to my 9 to 5. This entrepreneur, I forgot how she worded it. This pretty much like this entrepreneurship hype wasn't for me. I'm killing myself. I want to go where there's no responsibility, no this, no that. And so I usually don't comment on a lot of things, but I commented on that one because I was like, first of all, you have to figure out what is for you.
Right.
But I wanted to make clear, because there's the hype on both sides. Just having a 9 to 5, I've seen people get taken out. Being an entrepreneur, I've seen people get taken out. It's not the thing, right? So it's one, what is for you, right? And I'm happy everybody don't want to be a full-on entrepreneur, because who will help assist those who want to be a full-on entrepreneur? So I never push that. But it's about these small things you're talking about. Like I said, even life and things. So finding consistency, we don't learn those things. We take on everything. We have the overwhelm. And I commented that, no, you know, it's not about the 9 to 5. It's not about the entrepreneurship. It's about knowing where you fall in line. If you fall in line at corporate and can support someone else's vision and still manage your life doing that, so be it. If you want to be an entrepreneur, it has to go from you running a business to a business running. And that's the difference. And so when we're constantly running a business, we're running ourselves into the ground. It's not just about entrepreneurship. It's about, now, what does entrepreneurship entail? And these are the things you're talking about. Consistency is one of the things that sets up a system to just be running versus you running.
Right.
So I wanted to bring that up because what you're doing is timely, and it's missing in a lot of conversations. And it's not just, again, it's not entrepreneurship. It's in anything that we're actually doing. that takes some type of structure. And everything that we do takes structure. Like I say, if you have a 9 to 5, you gotta have some type of structure. Your whole life's gonna feel like
Absolutely.
chaos.
I think the difference, I said absolutely. I think the difference is a lot of times the 9 to 5 to a degree is giving you some semblance of structure. So it may not be in entirety, but they're telling you, we need you here from this time to this time. When you get here, we need you to do X, Y, Z. When you are an entrepreneur, you have a clean slate. So if you're getting to a point where it's, I'm coming in on Monday at 10 o'clock in the morning, and then on Wednesday, I'm coming in at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it makes it difficult to operate when people don't know when to get in touch with you. Because I don't know if do you open at 8 or do you open at 10? Can I call you at 8 in the morning, or should I wait till 10? So I think it gives you a level of consistency, as we've been saying. I think it also sets expectations for the people that you're working with, which is another big piece of having that consistency and structure, is that other people know what to expect from you, and it gives you a level of protection. So one of the other things that I was doing with one of the clients that I was working with, who was running a marketing agency, is I was the bad cop kind of person. So when there were those trouble clients, I was the one that was reinforcing, like, no, this was the deadline. We needed to have it in by this deadline so we could get it to you by this date. You said you need it by XYZ date. We need this by this. Or it was, okay, you have this project. You're saying it's a rush job. You need it tomorrow. We can't get started until you give us a deposit. We're not going to start working on it. And then you decide to change your mind. And then we've already done the work. And now you're trying to tell us you're not going to pay us. Like, there were all of these things that were kind of happening that I was seeing, that I was like, no, we need to nip this in the bud. Or he was doing workshops and trainings and events, and then people would pay, they would go to the event, record a testimonial talking about how great the event was, and then turn around and dispute the charge with PayPal, talking about they didn't get what they expected. Because we had structures in place, I had documentation of, nope, they were there. There are pictures of them there. This is a testimonial that they recorded saying that the event went. Like, I was sitting there disputing people that were saying, oh, I didn't get what I needed. I want my money back.
Wow. I didn't even think about it from that perspective there. And of course, you would make an attorney's job very easy. But that's good. So documentation, administrative support would just being able to have those things ready when people are challenging you. And unfortunately, that happens a lot. I never thought about it from that capacity. I never had to, experience anything with assisting somebody from that capacity. You go to a whole event and give the testimonial. I mean, say how great it is, and then turn around and say, I just want my money back. And you want to hustle that. So It's good that you had those things in place that, and this is why, again, structure is important, because if there's anything from audits, especially if you're an entrepreneur, I mean, there's all types of audits that may actually happen, IRS audits that may have, you want to have things in place that it doesn't take you time, or you can't even do it to show up and fulfill these particular audits. Now, you mentioned, like what I mentioned in your bio, you help nonprofits. That's one of the biggest things, right? A lot of people say, I want to run a nonprofit business and this and that. And what they don't realize is, one, if it's a federal nonprofit and you're registering it to be a 501, whatever it is, it technically belongs to the government. Right. And so that may be your baby, but you hand it over to the government so they can stick their head in when they want, and they can audit it, especially if you're getting grants and you're getting money. And there's a lot of times nonprofits do not have anything documented. So what is your experience with nonprofit versus profit? What are the differences?
I would say that's one of the big ones. Is the documentation level is different when you're working with a nonprofit. I think it's also, I will say from the experience that I'm working with, the work is a little bit different because it's more focused on, community initiatives and things like that. So you're dealing with a different customer base, so to speak. And then there's more of a need for like the retention of those documents, more of a need for retention of information about the organization. How many people are you serving? How are these programs successful? Like, I have an organization that I'm working with now that's an arts organization with visual art. And that was one of the things that I noticed when I came in. When I would ask them for information about something, they couldn't tell me where anything was because they had everything all over the place, or they had different people storing things in different places. And they were like, yeah, they've been in operation for over 30 years, but they didn't have documentation of all the exhibits that they've done for over 30 years. And so I had to come in and start like creating a repository of, okay, we've had 4 exhibits this year. Here are all the exhibits. These are the flyers for the exhibits. These are the artists that were involved in those exhibits. I'm documenting like addresses, phone numbers, social handles, so that we can stay in communication with them for the next exhibits that's coming up. Or we can go back and say, okay, this person was in this exhibit in this year and sold XYZ. Like, there was no documentation of anything. And so going in, it was a lot of creating those databases, creating the systems. We implemented a new platform to operate the call for artists, because what they were doing was just having artists email them stuff. And so the information that they were receiving from the artists was inconsistent, because they're just getting emails and the artists are putting what they want in there. And so when we're using a platform, there's a consistent structure of, this is a form that you're filling out. These are the fields that are required. So they're getting more consistent information from each of the artists that they are working with, which was helping with selling the work, being able to communicate to potential buyers the dimensions of the work, the pricing. It was also a need to document all of that artwork to get the work insured for each of the exhibits. So we had to submit a list of all of the work, how much it costs. If it wasn't for sale, what's the value of the work? So I'm beginning to put a lot of that infrastructure in place and beginning to document the information is helping to also create their like end of the year reports, creating their sponsorship packages and proposals when they're doing different activities. It's helping them sell the different programs and scholarships and all of the other things that they offer as a nonprofit organization. So there's still that level of, there needs to be some structure, there needs to be some consistency, and the need in terms of the documentation is just that much more important on the nonprofit side.
Yes. And that's what I was talking about. Like, people automatically, I just want to start a nonprofit, because they'll start a conversation. I was thinking about doing this. You think if it's a profit or nonprofit? Like, because, okay, again, we know what we know, and we don't know what we don't know. And the conversation is this level, but it's okay. Yes, you want to do this. Should it be a profit or nonprofit is one level of a conversation. But once you decide what you want to be, there's a whole nother conversation on the level of responsibility, the level of everything, if you're going to do it right. Right. And once we learn what it takes to do it right, then we realize, wow, it's not just about putting, 501c3 or LLC or corp. It's actually encompassing of a lot of different things. And it makes me chuckle because my son, our son, my husband and my son, does a lot of gaming. And we finally decided, because I watch Kai Cenat, he's a gamer, and he just talked about the hours he put in and how hard it is to do that. And I'm thinking, our son be putting in hours with gaming, not just playing a game, but gaming. So we told our son, listen, you're gonna have to make this a business. This is not going to be just you gaming. So we started the path of it being a business, and then we started having conversations. What's the business name? Well, this is the name I've been going by, Mom. All right, well, I need to check it because I have to make sure no other name is out there. Well, I spell it differently. No one spells it like me. It doesn't matter if they don't spell it like you. If it sounds the same, then there's confusion. So now the mind is like, whoa, all this business stuff is different. It's not fun and games. It's not just about, oh, go register LLC. It's the structures. It's understanding that there's different levels of conversation to run a sustainable business. So there's a singer that is watching. There's a speaker that is watching. So if you was a late this stuff and you was actually, you know, push organizational skills, administrative assistant to help them be successful and sustainable in what they do. What are some things, not going deeply into it, but what are some things that you would help those type of creatives in order to, you know, level up?
I think it depends on where they are in the process. I think what a singer artist starting out may need versus somebody that's a bit more established is probably going to be significantly different.
Okay.
One of the things I would say starting out, and I kind of encourage this for all business owners, not just singers, is when they are performing, for example, if they're doing a show, I noticed a lot of singers, music artists would have like a notebook for you to write your email address. That was one of my biggest pet peeves, because I was a person that was always trying to decipher chicken scratch, trying to get the email addresses put into like a database or something like that. So one of the things that I always encourage for artists is to do like either a kiosk or a QR code that would take them to the email form. Most email marketing systems have like an opt-in form built in that you can customize to fit your branding and all of that stuff. And, you know, having people just type in their email address themselves versus you having to take a notebook home and then you have to sit and spend however many hours trying to decipher handwriting and put that in. I think another thing is once you're having that list, taking it a step further and tagging each of the people that are opting in based on what show they were at, what location it was in. So if you go back to that market, you can go back to those people that were at that show and say, hey, I'm coming back. And hopefully they'll come back and support you again. I think another thing is also being strategic about how are you leveraging that show for other opportunities? Are there appointments you can set while you're in that market? Are there brands that you want to meet with? Are there producers and writers that you may want to meet with? And you kind of maximize your time in that location. So if you're an Atlanta artist and you're going to New York, there may be other artists in New York that you may want to try to connect with or collaborate with while you're in New York. So you may want to be scheduling those appointments ahead of time around the time that you have the show so that you can do that as well. You may want to have some press materials to distribute so that if there are, you know, local outlets, local blogs, podcasters, maybe you can get in and connect with them to help promote your show. So there are different things that artists can do when they are performing, traveling, you know, that would benefit from having some administrative support to help them with executing it.
I love you just said that, because my mind just went completely off. Like when you said that, like, especially if you're there at a show, right? First of all, you don't have to have a line, people doing whatever, but they have this QR code, you have this built-in system. Now everything becomes more automated. Not only, you know, to say, hey, I'm here or there, or whatever, but now when you send out maybe just snippets of you performing or doing, this is now your personal, unlike social media, those things like that. This is now from me to you, from me to you. And you saw me and you remember me. And I want you to still remember me next time another opportunity comes open, whether it's you giving the opportunity or you hear about an opportunity. But it's more intentional and it becomes automated because that QR system and administrative support is like, we got this in, and this is the thing we're going directly to our congregation.
Right.
It's not lost on someone else's platform.
Right.
You opted in, you wanted to be contacted, and this is how I'm doing. And now you're always front of mind when an opportunity opens again that they may have, or they hear of an opportunity, because they're always seeing whatever you now set up automated to go out to them from there. I love that. So that would be kind of the same thing like a speaker for the speaker, right? If you're
Absolutely.
doing speaking engagements, it's the same thing. When you show up somewhere, you want to have something to gather the information. So you're saying even take it a step farther than just trying to pass out cards, but do something where you have administrative support to actually pull in that information.
Absolutely. Yes. But
That
then you
was
can also use your admin to follow up. Like maybe you're getting them and they're opting in. Now your admin can go take that list and send those follow-up emails after, the thank you emails afterwards. Those, hey, we have this next thing coming up that we wanted to make you aware of. Like there are other opportunities for your admin to support you once you kind of get some of those things in place.
and that is important for the admin to have because most of the times a lot of opportunity loss comes between the it being there and the follow-up. It's in
Follow
that
up.
in between, it's the follow-up because life be life and it is what it is.
Mhm.
But to not just be in front of somebody's mind, but actively in front of somebody's mind. And as artists, as creatives, as entrepreneurs, things we do, those are the things I'm talking about that take you away from the very thing that you need to show up 100% of yourself in. And that's why I think it's really important to bring someone who could show up 100% in that. And that's where a lot of things continue to open up.
Right.
Um, when you see overwhelm or disorganization, how does that usually show up? How can you tell, okay, there's going to be a lot of overwhelm or disorganization here, or it's not? Like, does it show up a certain way? Unmanaged, I should say, overwhelm or disorganization.
I would say it varies, but I think the consistency is you're noticing that balls are being dropped. You're noticing that things that are supposed to happen aren't happening, or things are getting missed that shouldn't be getting missed. So usually when somebody's got too much on their plate, there's going to be like if your hands are full and then somebody throws something else at you, you can't catch that other thing because your hands are already full. So
Mm,
there's ending up being something that's getting missed, some ball that's getting dropped, something that's not getting done. And so oftentimes it's usually somebody that they either didn't plan or prepare for it well. They didn't do their homework in the front end, like we talked about earlier, kind of doing their research and mapping out, okay, these are the processes that I'm going to follow, or these are the steps that I'm going to take, or this is what I need to do first, second, third. Um, so I think it kind of shows up in different ways, but I think the consistency is something is off. You can
something's
see
off.
something is not happening that should be.
Yeah, because how it showed up for me, and that's why I asked, is so sometimes you don't even recognize it. You just think it's whatever. It showed up being stuck. It was
Mhm.
unmanaged overwhelm showed up by being stuck.
Stuck.
And you're doing everything else thinking this is gonna unstuck you, if that's the word. And it's not. It's passing the ball, punting the ball.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden you did nothing different, right? Out of everything, the service you offer, whatever's going on, nothing changed except for passing the ball and letting somebody else do it. And then all of a sudden you're unstuck. So for me, that's how it showed up. Anytime there's unmanaged overwhelm, and now I know how to identify it. If I feel completely stuck in an area, passing it on, that you figure out what that thing is.
Right.
To pass it on. That's why I wonder if that showed up with anybody too, just being stuck. And then when you pass it,
Mhm.
you start to see, the floodgates, things start to come in, opportunities things start to flow. Pretty
Right. I think to your point, a lot of times you're just so used to chaos that you don't even recognize it. And so sometimes it ends up in either something big getting missed, or like you said, getting stuck, or somebody else has to come in and be like, hey, it doesn't have to be like this. There's another way to do this so that you're not experiencing these things. To kind of open the door to, oh, there's another way to do this where I can have my business, but then there's still, peace, productivity, and profitability in what I'm doing.
So what do you say to individuals who say, I don't know, am I even in the place, space, or wherever I need to be in to truly delegate, to be able to scale? Like, when do someone know? This is a question. I'm putting this one on you because this is the question I always get as an attorney. When do I know I need to hire an attorney? So as soon as you know, but when do people know that, I probably should bring this one in? Is it when there's overwhelm, or bringing them in to already move them forward? Like, when is the time?
That is a good question. I think a lot of times when you are in the process of growth, like if you're doing something and you're seeing the wheels are starting to turn, you have to be self-aware enough to recognize that you're only one person and there's only so much you can do before you max out. And so I think if you are being cognizant of it, if you're starting to see, oh, this thing that I'm doing where I was working like 20 hours a week and now I'm at like 40 hours a week and there are still more opportunities coming, you need to start looking at, okay, I need to have somebody else come on board to help out with it. But I like reading a lot of business books. So there's the E-Myth by Michael Gerber. He kind of talks about being cognizant of the different hats that you're wearing and associating those hats with a job and a job description. And so he would talk about the things that you don't like to do or you don't do well, starting to take those jobs off of your plate first and identifying people who can fulfill those positions for you so that you can focus on the things that you do better. And then as you're growing, you can start to allocate more people and begin to delegate more of the work so that everything is not on you and you can start to pass those hats off to other people.
So, question, if I heard you correctly, because I heard and earlier you said, when your wheels get to spinning and you see there's more opportunities coming in and you feel like, there's more here, I can't handle it. But I also did hear, like you just said in that book, when you find yourself doing more of the things that, you don't like to do, you're not set up to do, or it's taken away from the thing that will actually grow you.
Mm-hmm.
So if I hear you say two things, it's not just necessarily when you're getting opportunity. It could be the ladder to get opportunity. Is it both? Like, so if you see more opportunity and you're pulling opportunity, and yes, but if there's not necessarily opportunity coming in, like if I think I'm hearing you correctly, what opportunity mean is, opportunity to make more money, to perform, people buying your products. If there's no opportunity coming in yet, but you find yourself trying to get opportunity, trying to get breakthroughs, but you find yourself having to put more and more hours into doing those things to get it. So opportunity's not coming yet. Is that also a time to bring in an administrative assistant?
Yes, it could be. It could be. It may be that the opportunities aren't there because, like we talked about before, you're not positioned to receive them. And so if you are taking some of the things off of your plate that may be hindering you, because again, it could be that's not your strength. And so you're doing this thing that maybe it takes you 2 hours, but if you have somebody that's what they do, maybe it takes them 30 minutes. But if you take it off your plate, then you can focus your efforts in another area that is stronger for you or that you enjoy doing. And that may create more opportunities for you to grow and expand.
And that make me think about, like I was saying, one of our empowerment speakers on here, that's like reaching out, right? So when you're pitching, you're pitching and you want to pitch at scale and you want to go to all these different, you want to find time to study your message, become one with your message and just be in your message and not be really disturbed by the pitching, right? Or not even that. When I say disturbed by the pitching is sometimes you get rejection, you get all these different things that kind of interferes with your energy. But if you have this, this mediator, this person in the middle that's doing all that's coming on them, right? And so now you're staying in the energy of what you do best. And the only thing that's really kind of filtered to you is those things for you to do best. So now you continue to feel your best. And that's what I was thinking about when I asked that. What if there are no opportunities? Because a lot of times there's no opportunities coming in because we're probably doing all these different things and it's bringing our light a certain way. but it may be a time to bring administrative assistant in to do those things that we're doing more of in order for us to continue to illuminate more in our light for those opportunities to come. So that,
Yeah. I think the other thing too is when you have someone else, there's the expression that two minds are better than one. There's somebody else that can see things that you can't.
I was going to say,
And then there are things that they may be able to think ahead of for you, so you don't have to think about it. So if they see something that's coming up down the pipeline, they could maybe say, hey, I noticed XYZ. Do you need me to do this for you? Or do you want me to go ahead and take care of it for you so you don't have to think about it? Or if you empower them to, they can go ahead and just do it for you and then tell you, hey, by the way, I did XYZ.
I was going to bring that up when you had brought up the QR code from earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that may not have necessarily been a thing to, there's a lot of chaos going in. It's a thing to prevent chaos, but it was also just innovative strategic thinking of how to put you on the path as an entertainer with automated systems. Because a lot of times when we think about automated systems or customer relation, gathering information, we're thinking about literally from just an entrepreneur who wants to, sell whatever product. And if we think about service, it's still services like, maybe courses or this, but not necessarily thinking about, I want someone to contact me to come perform. And so that is just innovative and forward thinking. That's why having an administrative assistant is not just about, doing the things. It's about, two minds coming together and creating that synergy that can actually create opportunity. So I was gonna say that because that was a huge one, Ken. That was a gem. So if they don't think Ken on fire, I don't know. Look, all right, but see, the thing is too, what I love about you is it's not just, like I said, book read. It's not just education. You were out in the field. It's different when people have touched ground, when people worked in the field, when they're part of the roots. It's like you bring a different connection to all these things. You see it from a different way of how these things can be done. And so I love that you can marry all those things, and it helps you to think out of the box. So from your experience working with vastly different people, and I know everyone's different, and everyone may be in different stages, but if you can like pull in one of the biggest things, one of the biggest systems that someone implemented that helped put them on the right track, no matter what industry you're in, what would that be?
I think probably when I was working with the digital marketing company, we just had to start putting in operational systems because there were none. And so we went from scratch to, like I was saying, working out pricing structures to creating a step-by-step process. So I sat down with my client and was like, okay, when a client needs X, what do you want it to look like? Not what's happening right now, but what do you want it to look like? So when they first inquire about, hey, I want XYZ service, I want a flyer designed, I want a logo done, I want a consultation, what do you want that process to be? And we sat and wrote it out. And we went from one, he was able to leave his job. He went from probably making less than $20,000 to, I would say, maybe by year 5, he was making over 100,000. He was able to increase his prices because he started to position himself as an expert in certain areas and starting to interact with a higher caliber client, because we started to go from, okay, we're looking at this person that wants this discount logo to, hey, we're talking to this artist that wants to pay $5,000 for a VIP day with you. So once we started kind of putting those things in place, it put him in a position to be able to generate more revenue, to have a greater impact on the clients that he was working with. And being able to grow, to, do some of the other things that he wanted to do. I think one of the big things too was when I started working with him, our very first call, I asked him, what were the different things that he had going on. And I think he rattled off like 10 different businesses that he was like in the middle of. And I was like, okay, can we like start with one? Let's focus on one, get the wheels going on that one, get that running smoothly. And then we'll start to trickle in the other ones. So my ask of him was like, okay, what's the lowest hanging fruit? What's the easiest one to start with to get it going so that you're generating revenue and that we can, get running smoothly, and you have things in place a little bit for that one. Let's like streamline that, focus on that, get that running smoothly. And then we can go back and revisit some of the other ideas that you have.
So what it sounds like to me, what I got from that, you use that one particular client, but the biggest system to get in place, or the system to get in place that could make the biggest difference universally, is operational. Because what we're doing, no matter what we do, we're operating in some capacity. So getting operational system down, also to your point you just brought up, for those of us who just wake up with all the stuff in our head, operational system helps to bring it all in. You don't have to, I'm one of those people that you don't have to let go of this, let go of that. That's your vision, but it's not meant to make you confused and be all over. So when you have an operational system, like you told him, okay, we have all these things, but let's start with, we're gonna eat all the fruit, but let's go ahead and start pulling from the lowest hanging one. So operational system is what I heard. So one last question before you get into, I want you to talk a little bit more about savvy artists. I want you to just go into that. But before we go there, what advice would you give to someone, anyone in whatever their industry is, entertainment, as a creative, as a business owner, nonprofit, for-profit, who knows they do need help, but they're struggling with the fear of letting go? Because that was me. Until I said, nope, that's stuckness. I'm gonna do everything. Ain't no reason to be stuck here. I let go. What advice would you give to those individuals?
So one thing is I would want to bring to their attention that them not letting go is creating a bottleneck. I've been in enough organizations where I've seen firsthand, because everything had to go through XYZ person, things were not happening. Things weren't progressing the way they should have been progressing because that person was getting overwhelmed. There was one instance where they just stopped answering their phone and nobody could get in touch with them. And so it got to the point to where, okay, well, we can't sign this deal for this sponsorship, and you just lost 10 grand because nobody could get in touch with you to finish out the paperwork. So growing is going to require you letting some things go in any capacity. As a parent, eventually, like, I'm aware that my kids at some point, they're going to grow and they're going to move on, and I have to let them go, and I have to prepare them for that. And I think it's the same thing with your business. You have to kind of think of your business like I used to say when I was first starting out, like, my business is my baby. Like, I have to think of it like I'm preparing this and nurturing it to eventually be able to run and function without me. And so the biggest thing I think I talked about when you're like working with clients and stuff, kind of setting expectations, I think you also have to do that for the people that you're working with. And so you need to have, again, it helps a lot if you already sort of have some processes in place in terms of being able to delegate. But I think it also helps to kind of create a culture and set expectations for what you're looking for, being able to articulate, this is the vision, this is where we want the company to go, and make sure that the people that you are bringing on understand the vision, are on board with it, and are willing to help you achieve it. And so I think when you start to put the infrastructure in place, you start to have the job descriptions and processes and, make it easier, help them help you, basically, is what it boils down to. So you start to put the processes in place, you start to put the structures in place, you start to set the expectations of what you're looking for in terms of communication, how frequently, when you need reports, what to do if you have questions. And then I think the more you get comfortable with that person, then you can start to let go a little bit more. You can empower them to do things a little bit more without them needing to check in with you. And I saw that happen with some of my clients too, where, perfect example, the marketing company, we went from every time I talked to somebody, I was having to call him to get clarity on something or ask questions, to the point where he wasn't even like interacting with people. I was just running the business for him, and he would get calls and then he would tell them to call me. So I think it gets to a point eventually where you kind of have to begin to think in those terms of being able to position yourself to not just be self-employed and have a job, but have a business that can function so that you can do other things. You can take care of your family. You can go on vacation. You can go on a retreat so you can get some new ideas and new innovations to push whatever your idea is forward.
Absolutely. Vonda asks, when you find yourself dealing with many clients, where is your go-to place to remedy the organization of everything that you got going on? So where's your go-to place?
So when I'm dealing with a lot of clients,
so that's a good question. So Vonda posting, is this a question of to Kim or Kim advising somebody else who's dealing with many clients and where their go-to place is? And while she types that, go ahead and get into Biz Savvy artists and talk more about that. It's coming up. Let them know what that is.
Absolutely. So Biz Savvy Artist Academy, this is our 12th annual event. We do it every year to provide entrepreneurship training to creatives. And so that is one of the things that came out of some of those experiences I was mentioning, where I'm interacting with artists that don't really have an idea of business structure and operations. And so Biz Savvy Artist was kind of born from that as an opportunity to say, there's more to being a singer than just singing. There's more to being a filmmaker than just rolling the camera. There are budgets. There are, you're dealing with independent contractors. You are dealing with contracts and agreements. And there are all of these other facets to operating as a business that, as a creative, you need to be aware of. You need to be cognizant of either you knowing how to market yourself or being able to bring in someone to help you market. But you also need to be aware of what to expect from them, to know that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. So you need to have the knowledge yourself of what to expect and what some of these areas are, and then have an opportunity to, bring other people in to help you do those things. And so Biz Savvy Artist was a space that we created. The goal is for it to be like an arts and entertainment business incubator eventually. But we're starting right now with just doing the annual event. We have workshops throughout the day on business and teams, on branding and marketing, public relations, entertainment and technology, and then managing finances and understanding legal matters. We also have tons of networking opportunities. It's a great place to connect with other creatives, to cross collaborate, because we deal with artists in music, film, literary, visual, and performing arts. And then it's also an opportunity to be introduced to products and services that you can use within your business. So if you're looking for accountants that specialize in working in entertainment, or entertainment publicists, or entertainment attorneys like ELLAvation, like that's where you want to go to make those connections, build those relationships, and expand your business. So the next Biz Savvy Artist Academy is coming up on August 9th. It'll be at the Russell Innovation Center for Entrepreneurs. And the website to learn more is bsaacademy.com.
Yes. And that information is scrolling for those who want to see. You see the bsaacademy.com and also Kim Contact. But yeah, so even that, I know the year that I went, Biz Savvy even brought James Brown's daughters. Just to tell you about, it was they talked, it was amazing to pour in to individuals and just let them know, how things go, other than performing, other than all the things you see. There's things that can happen. To her point, if contracts are not in place, or if just somebody's after you have estates, things like that. And so is very informational. It's not typical. It's not one of those things you think about, oh, I'm just gonna go here. No, it is literally, and because I believe, Kim, again, your roots. So you know what to bring in and what to cover. Very forward thinking, anything that's changing that can possibly affect your creativeness, your business, those things are talked about, such as AI. I mean, big things that people are staying away from. The only time you really hear people talk about it is, oh, just chat GPT. But to actually have somebody come in and say, are there potential issues? Are they this? Are they not? Like, literally, Biz Savvy is there to up level us and to legitimize what you're doing, and not just the talent. So I look forward to being there myself. But outside of even Biz Savvy, you all connect with Kim. Like, where can they connect with you? Just on, social media? Is it LinkedIn is preference for you? Like, where can people connect and, go
Absolutely.
beyond?
LinkedIn is definitely a great resource. Kimberly Fennell, I think the LinkedIn URL is linkedin.com/in/Kim Fennell EBS. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram as Kim the Admin. I also have a website, entertainmentbizsupport.com. So any of those platforms are an option to be able to get in touch with me and to learn more and, have a consultation if that's what you would like to do.
And before you go, that's why I put that question here so I wouldn't forget. So that question is to you, like about you. So if you find yourself dealing with many clients, where is your go-to place for remedy the organization?
So for me, I think one of the things that I'm very big on is making sure the foundation can manage what's coming in. So I think at this point, I kind of have a good idea of what my capacity is. And so I have other admins that I know. Again, I'm in different trade organizations and, I've kind of built up a network of people. So if I feel like I'm starting to get overwhelmed, there are people that I can outsource certain tasks to. So if it's, somebody that needs help with their website, I know web designers that I can outsource things to. If it's getting videos edited, I know video editors that can do that. If it's social media marketing, I have social media marketers that I know that can kind of take on some of those tasks. So I've kind of created a network of resources of people that I can outsource or delegate or just refer to handle certain things if it's not within my wheelhouse and I don't have the bandwidth to do it. I'm also very big about setting boundaries and expectations. And so I kind of have my cutoff times for certain things. So one, I do not answer business texts, emails, phone calls on Sundays. Sundays are my day to unplug, recuperate, spend time with my family, prep for the week. And then, Monday, I'm able to hit the ground running. I'm like, God worked 6 days and rested on the seventh. Who am I to think I could go 7 days straight and not take a break and not refuel and replenish myself? So I always take my Sundays off. And then for me, again, arts is a big area for me to kind of decompress and like refuel myself and get inspiration. And so I will take a weekend and binge a movie if I feel like I need to, or binge a series if I need to, go to the movies. I may take the kids to a music and arts festival and go sit in the park and relax. Like I kind of have learned to find different areas of ways to, I'll go sit in the car and just listen to the radio. Like if that's what's manageable in that moment. So I find different ways to decompress, relax, de-stress. And then that tends to help me open my mind, give me revelation about things. Maybe it's something I've been stuck on or struggling about. Once I decompress, if I take a good nap, usually by the time I wake up, I have a solution for whatever that thing was. So, I'm a huge proponent of resting, getting rest, needing rest. I'm not the I'll sleep when I'm dead, hustle till I die.
Yeah. And you said the key word, the B word, boundaries. That's
Boundaries.
a
Absolutely.
huge one. And now I don't know if you've seen this circulating around too. And we all don't know if there was other underlying issues, but the post from the young lady on social media who was working 7 days a week, and she has said, I'm tired. I'm gonna lay down. Whatever her name was, like she said, Cece or
Yes.
whatever her name is. I'm tired. I'm gonna lay down, and she lay down and never got back up.
Mm.
And they were saying like, just from the post and her, I guess if you follow the posts and the threads, just her always going hard all the time. So again, I don't know if there's other underlying things, but that's what was captured. It made me think about what you just said as far as rest, because that goes to the point I was talking about earlier. We have these sound bites and these hype men and all these things. People talking about entrepreneurship and this and that, and sleep when you're dead, and you don't need this. I know for me, when I went to law school, they were like, in law school and after law school, you have a jealous mistress, and that's who you have to answer to, period. Meaning nothing else matter. This mistress you got. And I refuse. No, I'm not buying in it. And so I'm happy you brought that up. Whoever's listening, don't buy into any of that. We have to take care of ourselves. You have boundaries, and more importantly, get people a support team, get people behind you that this is what they do, so that you do not deteriorate your health. That's not worth it. We weren't given visions and gifts to just take us out of here. So it's important to have those people understand that the art of letting go is important, and we need to release this overwhelm. So I hope today's conversation reminded you that success doesn't come from doing it all. It really doesn't. Please let us dismiss that fake hype. Let whoever's hyping up saying that. But I guarantee you, those who are hyping all that up got a whole entire team. I'm telling you, they have a whole entire team. And when they choose to sleep, they sleep very well. So just know it comes from knowing when to carry and when it's time to release.
To release. Yeah. I
Absolutely. So I hope this segment with Kim resonated with you. Please make sure you share this, especially in the community. Please make sure you share this episode, because one of the things we do not think about when we think about support, only time we usually think about support, we talk about social media. Oh, you ain't supporting me. Such and such ain't support me. What about the true, genuine support? Someone who is helping you build. Someone that's helping you not to overstretch yourself. That's the support. So please share this, because we need to be more educated in this area on how it can apply in any sector. So any last thing you want to share, Kim, before I wrap up?
I just wanted to tag on to what you were saying earlier in terms of the importance of resting and taking a break. I listen to a lot of the behind the scenes, behind the music, a lot of interviews with professionals and creatives. And the one thing that stood out for me is Lin-Manuel Miranda. When he came up with the idea for Hamilton, he was on vacation. And look what Hamilton has turned into. So I think when you give your mind and your body the space to relax, what you could come up with is limitless.
Or what is trying to be downloaded can actually happen. You know how you see a computer download and just be spinning?
It's spinning,
And it
yes.
doesn't download? That's
Yes.
the interruption. That's the interference of our
Because
overwhelm.
you're doing
But then,
too much.
yeah,
Yes.
doing too much. Then when we clear out, it stops spinning, and then the download happens. You start to see that bar go. Brrr. That's what I think about, and I got that from our last segment of data. He's stuck in my head about everything is data. Michael Cortez, I had him on here. It was amazing. So thank you all for tuning in, engaging, adding value to this very, very powerful, much needed conversation. But please remember, the more you know, the more you grow, the more you learn, the more you can absolutely earn. But when you share, you show care. And I truly believe also when you share, so much more opens up for you. So don't keep this knowledge to yourself. Spread the wisdom, tag friends, and let us continue to elevate together. Until next time, I want you to keep striving, keep growing, and most importantly, keep seeking elevation, peace, and progress.